Alright guys, welcome back. In the last video, we learned how to use layers inside Photoshop. So in this video, we are going to learn layer masks. So let's get started. Alright, welcome back guys. I hope you are doing great. Now, layers help you to work non-destructively inside Photoshop. That is understood. We learned that yesterday. Now, if you want to take your non-destructive workflows even further, then start using layer masks. And in this video, I'm going to explain just how. So let us start with this image I have on the screen. Let us start by adding a color layer to it by going here and clicking on this half circle and choosing maybe solid color. Now let us say I choose this color, and by default it comes in with a mask, but I'm going to delete the mask so that I show you exactly how to add one. Now let us double click here and change the name to color. Now, because we have the color layer on top, we won't be able to see anything down here. By the way guys, let us duplicate this layer so we work with a backup copy somewhere. So I'm going to press Ctrl J to duplicate that, and then I'll hide this other layer. Now, since the color layer is on top of everything, that is why we have just this blank color on the screen. But my focus is to hide certain portion of the blue color, so that by doing so, I will be able to reveal this guy below the color layer. So what I'm going to do is to add a mask to this color layer. Okay guys, to add a mask, you just simply go down here and click on this camera icon. Notice that you can click on this color to select it, and we know that it is selected because of this white band around. To select a mask, simply click on it and you also see a white band around it. Now let us make sure the mask is selected. Now what I'm going to do next is to go to my toolbar and then grab the brush tool. On the options bar, all the settings look nice, but I'm going to click on the size and increase the size of the brush to maybe 800 pixels. Now the next thing you have to take note of is the color in which you are going to paint. When using a layer mask, you can paint with two colors, black or white. With the default color set to black, I am just going to click somewhere around here. And you see guys, by doing that, we are able to hide it because we painted with black. We can now partially see the guy layer below it because we painted with black. This is not a destructive way of working guys, because instead of painting with black, which is going to hide the details of this blue layer, we can simply go here and click on this button or press the X key to switch the foreground and background color. Now the background color is currently white, so I'm going to click on this button to switch. Now since the default foreground color is now white, I am going to still make sure my mask is selected, and then I can paint back. And by painting back with white, we are able to reveal the blue color of that original layer. Okay guys, so black is used to hide, white is used to show or reveal. That is the first concept you need to know when working with layer masks inside Photoshop. So like I said earlier, my intention is to reveal partial portions of the image below it. So I'm going to press the X key this time to make sure my foreground color is black, and then I'll simply paint around here just like so. Now this is exactly what I wanted. Okay guys, so that is the first thing you need to know with the layer mask. Always paint with either black or white. Now I'm going to go to this other image I prepared in advance, and we can see that we have this gentleman in the dark right here. So what I intend to do is to bring this other layer onto it. So here on the layers panel, I'll just make sure the layer is unlocked by clicking on this path lock. Now what I'm going to do is to switch to the move tool and simply grab the smooth layer onto this other image just like so. Now yesterday we also learned something called the blend mode, and I said blend modes are organized into categories. There is a category that can make something darker, there is a category that can make something lighter, there is a category that can remove black, and there is a category that can remove white. Okay guys, so in this particular image we want a blend mode that will be able to remove the black portions of this image and allow just the white portions with the smoke. So I'm going to make sure the layer is selected, and then I'll click here and choose the screen blend mode. By doing that, we knock out all the black pixels and keep only the lighter pixels. Now the next thing I have to do is to make sure the smoke appears like it is coming from the background. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do is to come down here and click on this camera icon one more time to add a mask to that particular layer. So with the mask layer selected, what I'm going to do is to select my brush tool, and as we learned, if you paint on it with black, you are going to hide the details of that particular layer. Okay guys, and that is exactly what we need to do. So with the foreground color set to black, what I'm going to do is to just increase the size of my brush and simply paint around here just like so. Increase the size even more. And we get this nice effect right here just with the layer mask. And here on the layer mask thumbnail, you can be able to see all the portions that were painted with black. If for some reason you need to bring back any missing detail, then what you have to do is to just come here and press on this button to make sure the color switch, and we have the white as the foreground color. And with the layer mask selected, you can just paint again to reveal those details back. Okay guys, very nice. So I'm going to undo that because this is the effect I was going for. Now, if we need to disable the layer mask, we can hold the shift key, go to the layer mask and simply click. By doing that, we get a red cross on it. And to enable the layer mask again, you hold the shift key and still click on it. Now I'm going to switch to this other image right here, and we can see this little princess. And let us say my intention is to focus the viewer's eye to this particular little girl. So what I'm going to do is to first of all add a brightness adjustment layer. So I'll go here under the layers panel and click, and then choose brightness and contrast. Now by default, any adjustment layer that is added inside Photoshop comes with a mask. That is a setting you can change in the system preference, okay guys? But I actually like it because it is going to help me demonstrate what I intend to show you right now. So before we start, you know that we can drag the brightness sliders up and down to adjust the brightness and contrast just like so. Now if you look on top here below the properties panel, you can see we have the brightness adjustment layer, and then here we have the max. Okay guys, so currently we have brightness and contrast because we have this selected. But if I click on this button, you see we have different values here. We have density and feather. What do they all do? So I'm going to start by hiding this layer for a moment, and I will pick my brush tool this time, go to my brush settings. Instead of using a soft round brush, I'm going to go with a hard round brush. Hit enter to get rid of that panel. And what I intend to do is to make sure my mask is selected. Then since my foreground color is white, I'm going to press the X key to make sure it is black. Okay guys, now I might increase the size of my brush a little, just like so, and then I'll just make sure the mask is selected, and I'll click somewhere like so. Now because we painted with black, we are able to hide all the adjustments that came with the brightness and contrast adjustment layer. Now the mask is not actually aligned with the baby, so what I'm going to do is to transform the mask by pressing Ctrl T. And of course guys, you can transform a layer mask. So what I'm just going to do now is to make sure I scale them non-proportionally by holding the shift key and then clicking on this handle and just pull up like so. Then when I'm done, I click here to confirm. Now let us go to the properties panel. If we have this first box here selected, or this little box here, we see brightness and contrast. Okay guys, see what happens as I select the mask thumbnail. First, it switches to the max, and we now get density and feather. So what is the density value here, and what is the feather, and how do they work? So the density value here guys is like the opacity of this particular mask. Okay, so if I need to reduce the opacity of this particular mask, what I'm going to do is to take down the density. Let's just take down the density to 0 and see what happens. Now you see the image is the way it was when we applied brightness and contrast. But to be able to see the effect of the mask we added, we can increase the opacity, or in this case the density. Okay guys, there we go. Next, we need to understand the feather value here. Now if we look on this mask, we can see that the edges are too smooth and sharp. Okay guys, if we need to make these edges softer, what we simply have to do is to drag the feather slider up. While I was trying to test this image out, I came up with a value of 35 pixels. So I'm going to input 35 pixels here, and by doing that, you see the edges are now softer and not very sharp. So density is like the opacity of the whole mask layer, and the feather value here will give you softer edges or hard edges depending on the value you input here. Of course, in the future we will be able to see select and mask, color range, and all these other settings guys, so kindly subscribe to this channel to make sure you stay up to date. So right now I need you to understand that the properties panel, when you are using masks, has two properties. Especially in this case, we have brightness and contrast. If you click here, you have the original properties for brightness and contrast, but if you click here, you have the properties for the mask layer itself. Now if we look here, we see that we have a little chain icon. This means that both the brightness and contrast layer and the mask are linked. So if you scale the mask up, the layer will also scale up. If you scale it down, the layer will also scale down. Okay guys, if you want to scale one irrespective of the other, then just click here to unlink them. And if you need to link them back, just click again. Very helpful. Now of course, to delete any layer mask, you can simply drag the layer mask itself to the trash icon, and when you get this warning message, you say delete, or in my case I'm going to say cancel because I don't want to do that. So that is it for this video guys. I hope you had a great learning experience using layer masks. Subscribe and comment down below if you did to let me know, and as always, I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye bye.